Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in one of my favorite games, a new expansion of one of my favorite games, and that is time stories. I'm going to talk about Expedition Endurance. If you want to know nothing about this game, this module, then stop watching the video and then come back after you've played it. I'm going to mention two mechanisms. The first one is something that you will know immediately when you open the box. It isn't a big spoiler at all. The second one is a bit more of a spoiler, so I'll delineate between those two in case you want to listen to the very, very light spoiler versus the real spoiler. So the first mechanism, the one that really isn't a spoiler because you know it when you open the box, is that one of the characters you can play in Expedition Endurance is a dog. And of course we've seen in other games where you can play the dog. I think in Dead of Winter there's a dog. But the really clever thing in Expedition Endurance is that the dog character can't read. And what we determined that to be, it was kind of vague. You have to kind of figure out what that means to your group. In our group, we decided that while we're exploring this situation, if we came upon a card, so in Time Stories, you're going to different places and you're seeing a panorama of artwork formed by different cards, and you choose a location, you go to it, you pick up that card, and only you, look at what's on the other side of that card, and then you put it down and you tell the other players what you saw or what you read. And so when you pick up that card, we determined that if there was like a scrap of paper with something written on it, or maybe a framed painting. I'm making up random examples here. So there's a painting and there's writing somewhere on the painting, like maybe someone signed it or there's a year on it. The dog can't read, and so the dog cannot look at those things. And so we would cover them up right away as soon as we saw them. I loved, and it just kind of added to the flavor of the game. Like, it didn't make the game really any better or any worse, but it just seemed perfectly appropriate that the dog, of course, cannot read, and therefore in a game where you're trying to solve a puzzle, solve a mystery, deduce things, the dog can do a lot of useful things, but reading is not one of them. And so I love that there was a strong mechanical tie-in to a thematic element through this dog character. And if in the comments you have any thoughts about other games where you can play non-traditional characters like that and the way they act and interact with the game is unique due to who they are, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Okay, that's mechanism one. Go away now if you don't want to know anything about the game, because this one is a bit of a spoiler. Mechanism two is that in Expedition Endurance, you go into the game, you start exploring this vessel in Antarctica, and something has gone terribly wrong in this vessel. And you don't really know what it is. You start to see clues of what has happened, but you don't really know. You just know that something really bad has happened, and you don't have very long to survive there at all. Usually in Time Stories, you have a lot of time, and you run through a couple different runs, and then you solve the mystery and you're done. In this first one, when you go in, you hardly have any time, and you don't really know what's happening. You don't know if you're trying to find ways to add more time so you can stay there longer, and you're trying to use that time as effectively as possible. And then when you get out, you find that the time machine itself that has sent you back to this time and place kind of messed up, and it picked the wrong day. And so it first sent you back to a day after this terrible thing has happened in time, and now it's corrected itself, and it's going to send you back again, I think 1 or 2 days before that terrible thing, which is just brilliant, especially in a time travel game that you've now seen the after effects of what has happened, and now you are there to try to prevent that thing from happening, or to let it happen and let it play out a different way, or to solve a mystery, whatever it is you're doing there. I don't want to go that deep into the spoilers of the game, but I love that we walked around this empty vessel, seeing all these terrible things that had happened, and a lot of the things we learned while walking around that first time connected to the things that we saw when we returned back to the correct time 2 days in the past, as we tried to figure out how to deal with this situation that hadn't happened yet. I love that in the Time Story game, and it wasn't just the game telling us these things. It wasn't the game saying, "Hey, this bad thing is going to happen. Go prevent it." We walked around experiencing the after effects of the bad thing, and then used that information to deal with it and to, I won't say what we did, but to do some stuff with that information. Absolutely brilliant. I think I've said for a long time now that I've been waiting for a truly great time travel game, and I haven't really even considered Time Stories a time travel game up until this one mission, because Time Stories, it doesn't really feel that way. It doesn't feel like you're traveling back and forth in time, or that the things that you're doing now affect something else in the future, or vice versa. That's take away from the game. I love the game, but this is the first module that really felt like there was a strong time travel element to it because of the way that module worked, and that kind of that first run through the mission, the way that worked. I know this is all very specific to Time Stories, and if you're watching it now, then you've probably played through. Hopefully, you've played through Expedition Endurance. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please mark them with spoilers so people know that you're giving spoilers about this specific mission. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about your favorite mechanism in Expedition Endurance. Thanks.